Hi everyone, my name is Mira Treatman. I'm a dance theater artist. So what that means is that I have training in both dance and theater, and I use that training to create original performances. And I'm here tonight to speak to you about my vision for a future art market here in Philadelphia. And it's really based on this idea of living a sustainable career as an artist, meaning that you're an artist in your 20s, your 30s, and beyond, hi there, through retirement and beyond, meaning that this notion that your practices don't stop just because you hit certain milestones. So when I think about myself and my peers, I would define us as entrepreneurs, certainly, because it's out of necessity. We absolutely must get ourselves out there. And I would use those platforms, which were just up, to kind of give you a sense of what these tools are that are available that we use, but they don't mean that we have businesses. We're entrepreneurs without a business, which I think is an important distinction. So here are the top 30 dance companies by operating budget from the most recent data I could find. And it's just to give you a sense of where people like me fit in, because if the biggest company has a budget of $60 million, it's like, where are the rest of us? So this is Misty Copeland. She's a dancer in American Ballet Theater, which is at $40 million per year annual budget. And here she is pushing yogurt in a commercial. And many would scoff at this because it's like, oh, where's her integrity? Is she putting the integrity of her artistry and her company in jeopardy? Many would say that. I say absolutely not, and I'll tell you why in a few slides. So as you can see, since the 70s, the number of MFA degrees has drastically increased. And there's nothing immediately wrong with this, but what I find problematic is that you absolutely do not need a degree, let alone an MFA, to be a working artist or a practitioner of any artistic craft. But what it does do is that it qualifies you, it's this terminal degree in the field, it qualifies you to teach, which is great, but then what else can you do if you're not teaching with this degree? You're working in a nonprofit. So here we have the Shakers, and this is an example of an early nonprofit. This is what nonprofits were originally set up to do. They were serving the public, so they're public serving and public facing. They're meeting needs of the public that the government couldn't supply. But today, nonprofits in the arts in particular, and particularly in my field of performance, are not a charity explicitly. So here is an example of a charity, an arts charity that I believe does amazing work in combining arts and public service, which is Girls Rock Philly, and there I am in the middle, because it's directly a girls and women's empowerment organization. It's not just about an arts business in a nonprofit model. So when you think about imagine you're me or my peers, and you're the beginning of your career, and you're thinking about how you want to market yourself and sell yourself, really. You know, you can be a nonprofit, but you're reliant on foundation support, or you can pursue some kind of for-profit idea, and you're relying on validation from individuals' dollars. So either way, there's quite high volatility, and there's pretty high labor costs, but the commonality is that you're going to quote-unquote sell out, because by definition, performance relies completely on this audience. And so that's sort of the definition of selling out that I'm going for, is a feedback between the product maker, the artist, and the audience. And a big part of this is letting go of ego, because it's so easy to get caught up in your personal vision and be completely divorced from what your market wants. So jumping a little bit, another area that kind of makes my field of performance art difficult in this market is that I'm not producing a text. So unlike Shakespeare or a classic masterpiece such as The Nutcracker, it's very hard to replicate what I'm doing because it's so ephemeral. It just goes away after the run of the shows, which is very difficult. So my idea for the future, which I am striving to practice and that I'm definitely encouraging my peers to practice, is this notion of replicating your work so that it can become a product. Once something is a product, meaning it's somehow packaged, it isn't this ephemeral thing that vanishes after a weekend of shows, that maybe even could translate into an online platform. This product could be replicated and then monetized and merchandised. This is something that I really don't see my peers doing, and I think Philadelphia is the place where that really could happen. And so again, yes, when we think of our art in a different way, we can literally generate revenue from this. And I really, really firmly believe that this is something that needs to happen and will happen in Philadelphia. And the reason is because of this absolute need for sustainability, because it's so common that a life and career in the arts flattens out after a certain point because it's very hard to maintain. Now, Philadelphia is a prime location to do this work for several reasons. First is our geography in relation to all of the other cities, and I think it's a great benefit to live as a citizen of our megalopolis. I am not necessarily of the belief that there should be this Philadelphia pride and you stay here. No, I think there are many benefits of living here, namely the affordability. And so I think one part of this sustainable thing is to live here, reap the benefits, and then work in all of the cities within the strip from Boston to Washington, D.C. And finally, and this is my favorite part of my vision for the future, is that there's really no narrative for Philadelphia performance art on the international level. Meaning, if I were to go abroad somewhere and say I'm from Philadelphia, no one would necessarily know what that means. And I think that's a great thing, because I feel I have the power, and my peers have the power to market ourselves and tell our story exactly how we want to. So thank you so much for having me, and I would love to keep this conversation going.